The coaches are in. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the coaches are in. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You've got a friend now into the coaches are in. With authenticity, come on, let's take a seat and tune in.
All right, ladies, we are back for another episode of The Coaches Are In.
And another one. And another one. And another
yes,
one.
and as always, we're excited to be here with you. I'm Dr. Cherita Weatherspoon. I'm the CEO of Powerhouse Coaching and the founder and creator of The Coaches Are In. I am a business strategist and an alignment coach for Black women entrepreneurs.
And I'm Dr. Malaika Turner. I am the CEO and founder of The Speaker LLC. I'm the host of the Pivot Podcast, and here I am your confidence coach.
And I am Allison Garrett. I am your behavioral interventionist, and I work with professional women over 40 who don't know what's blocking their breakthrough and identify what their core challenge is without years of therapy.
That's good.
All right. And we are the coaches of The Coaches Are In. Yeah, so here is what we have for you this episode. All right, so let's kick this episode off the way we always do.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah, it is. It really is our favorite part of the show.
What did they say?
And it is the viewer question. So I have another viewer question here. And let me just throw out there for all of you who are watching, wondering, well, how can I get my questions answered?
Yes,
the best thing to do is to go to thecoachesrn.com and submit the form for viewer question. And yes, there is a form that you have to submit. We don't take questions via the DM or anything like that.
And how long does it take to fill it out?
Just a couple of minutes. Just a couple minutes, right. And we don't have to use your name. I don't think we've used anybody's name, but we only would if you gave us permission to do so. But the reason why we have you fill out the form is because, we need a little bit more context around some of the questions that we get, and just want to know that you are, part of our target audience. As well, we need to be clear that in submitting the question that we are not establishing an official coaching relationship.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's why we need you to fill out the form. So just a couple of minutes to fill it out and ask your question. And then it may be featured on the show. So just make sure you do that at thecoachesrn.com. All right. So our question for this episode is, I have a habit of comparing myself to others, and I always feel insecure about my achievements, like they aren't good enough. How can I stop comparing myself to other people and start embracing my uniqueness?
Stop comparing yourself to other people.
Just that simple.
Well, let's make a decision, right? Stop today. Right at this moment, we're going to stop comparing ourselves, right? And that means that when you achieve something or you do something and someone else does the same thing or achieves something that looks similar but looks better, right? Know that that achievement was for them and your achievement was for you. And a lot of times our achievements have an impact on the people who are watching us.
Right.
So don't devalue your achievement. Your achievement is your achievement. But more importantly, let's just stop. Let's make a decision. Let's make a, right now, I'm going to stop comparing myself to other people. Okay, so that's important because I think you need to take some time with that. Something that I always ask is, how long have you been doing this? Where did this come from? Have you been comparing yourself ever since you were little? Do you have a relative? Do you have a family member that always compared you to someone else? And a lot of times that outside source, right, plays a big part in why we compare ourselves, right? Because think about it, when you're little, you're not really comparing yourself. You're just doing your own thing until someone brings it to your attention. That was good, but look at so-and-so. Oh, you did a great job. You know what? Look at how so-and-so did theirs. Now let's think, even in school, right? Teachers, adults that we respect at times will plant those seeds of comparison, and it becomes then our pattern, right, of how we live. We are constantly comparing ourselves to others. So I want you to stop number one, let's make a decision. I'm going to stop comparing myself. It's not healthy. It doesn't feed anything in you that's good in you. And it also will change your motives as to why you do things. Because you'll find yourself doing things, right?
Yeah, looking for that.
Right. And I'm better. So-and-so did it, but I'm going to do it better. Right. And you're just wasting emotional time and emotional, just your emotional life. Really, you're wasting that on looking for somebody else to tell you that was better. I mean, you're always going to be looking for it as long as you're comparing. So, jot down, let's say number 2.5, jot down your unique qualities. What are they, right? Let's start looking at them. Then jot down, so I want you to write down your unique qualities because you're having a hard time appreciating those. But then jot down how your unique qualities are having a positive impact on the people around you. Because you need to see that. You need to see how my unique abilities or my achievements, how that's making it a positive impact on my family, my children, the people in my household, the people on my job, and really begin to see it from a different lens. And I think that's something that's really important, how you see yourself and what you're doing, what you're practicing, that really makes the difference. And a lot of times you have to bury you have to silence, let me say that. You have to silence those voices in your head. You have to stop them when they rise up, and you have to tell yourself, no, I'm not going to think this way. I am unique. This is great about me. This is beneficial to someone else. When I show up, I make a difference. And that's really critical, is to really start changing what we say. And making a conscious decision that I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not going to be my thing. It's not going to be my thing. Because what you'll do is pass it down. If not to children, maybe you don't have children, but you'll pass it down to people who look up to you. Well, yeah, but what did they do? Well, what did someone say? Okay, well, you have to do better. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
So it's good because what was in my mind was about this whole thing. Like, if she has experienced this, she's probably demonstrating this and like doing it in her own life, even if it isn't with her children. It could be with her friends or, whatever. Because, a lot of parents like compare their children. And
it's so hard.
You should be like,
this person didn't do it like that.
Right. Just be more like your brother, be more like your sister. And unfortunately, we do often pass on the things that happen to us, even if they were detrimental, traumatic, or whatever. We don't like it. It's hurting us just because that's what we know. We end up doing it to others. So I'm glad that you addressed that, for one. Then when it comes to your uniqueness, I mean, we are all very different, yet we're all very similar, right? So you love yourself, love what is different about you. But that comparison comes in because you actually feel like you're not unique. You feel like, well, maybe I'm like Allison, and she was able to do this. How come I wasn't able to do it? Or how come I wasn't able to do it as good as she is?
Some things you're just not meant to do.
Some things you're not meant to do, right? Or you don't know people's backstory. You don't know what they had to go through, what they had to accomplish, to whatever, to get to where they are and do the thing that you are envying. Because even though you didn't say you were envying, that comparison thing is all about that.
It's the cousin. It's a relative.
It's all about
and you're at the family reunion.
Exactly. And you're comparing because you think that person is better. They did something better. Their outcome was better. And just why? Because you don't know the cost that they had to pay to get whatever it is that you are being envious over. And you may not have been equipped to pay that cost or willing to pay it.
Oh, wow.
That's true, right?
Right.
So whatever it is that you've accomplished, I mean, just
embrace
it, celebrate it. It's great. I can guarantee you that you are doing more than and better than a whole lot of other people. And someone is looking at you, comparing themselves to you.
Sure.
Stay right there, though, because there's somebody else that wish they were you, and we struggle with that.
Well, you know what? I think to even bring all that together, this is something that I struggled with, and I could remember. You know how you say, like, remember where that came from, or the first instances, and we have to also understand that a lot of what makes us feel the need to compare is societal norms.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was growing up, I lived with 5 other siblings. Everything we had, we shared. We borrowed. Neighbors gave us clothes. Like, I'd never really had anything brand new for a really long time in my life. But I had a best friend who was an only child, who had the canopy bed, who got she got taps on her shoes in middle school. Like to preserve her shoes. Her clothes went to the cleaners. So when you think about the comparison, even throughout my life, that became my thought was, I don't think I felt inferior, but I felt that there was something that she did to deserve the life that she had opposed to the life that I had.
That's interesting.
So imagine carrying that through childhood, and this person's an adult.
Right.
So even thinking about how I had to overcome that, I even had to overcome it with, I had to say it, right? Like consciously. Like, I will not compare myself to people on the internet.
Right. That's right.
Because when I started doing the work that I do, and I see other people doing it, and I'm starting to equate, like, well, I said that, I say this, I do that too.
Right.
Why do they seem farther along?
That's so real.
And this, and this is the beginning of internet when that became the thing that you go to.
Right.
So I had to do my own work within, and I had to recognize where that came from. And that was the idea that no one said that she was better than me. Because a lot of times we get these ideas in our head and we make an assumption that someone said that, right? No one said that she was better than me. I didn't even think she acted like she was better than me.
Right.
We just didn't have the same things or the same experiences, but as a friend, it didn't matter.
Right.
But in the moment, that's where my comparisons came from.
Right.
So I think when you get to the root of it and identify when is the first time you can really think about when you started comparing, and then identify the truth in it. Because today I could say, like you just said, like, we're no different. We just had different experiences, different parents. Like my parents were the age of her grandparents. So there's a lot of things that was happening there that it didn't mean anything. So when you start to explore that, you can exclude the meaning. It just is. We're just different. It doesn't mean that she's better off. And as an adult, the same thing. Just because someone else does something, I don't need to do the same thing or anything like it. You say embrace your uniqueness. What does that mean? And really, when you say embrace it, like, you have to break it down so that it really means something to you and you're not just saying it.
And the thing is with with our achievements and kind of feeling like, well, they did it better, or they're better than me, or whatever, is that everyone has a place in the world. And everyone has a group of people that they are meant to impact, right?
Everybody has an audience.
Exactly. We're not even like talking about business per se, but it's just that the work that you do in higher ed, that like there's a certain group of students that you're going to be able to touch that another administrator will never be able to impact like you, right? So their thing that you're comparing yourself to had to be what it is for the people that they're meant to impact.
Right, that's good.
And yours has to be what it is for the people that you're meant to impact.
Right.
Because that's where you resonate.
Exactly.
That's where
And sis probably is. She probably is impacting people. She doesn't even know it. Right.
Somebody's watching, whether you know it or not. Somebody is always watching.
Yes.
It's like we in marketing, a lot of times we talk about like the people who are likely going to buy from you may never like your content. They're watching you, but they're not liking because they're not just scrolling and like clicking.
Okay.
They're intentional. You have their attention, but they're quiet. And when they're ready to take action, like they'll take action. So the comparison thing is just, it's a slippery slope because you just don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Like when people talk about relationship goals, I think I might have said that about a couple, like a decade ago when I first got on Facebook. You were never going to hear me say anything about identifying somebody else saying relationship goals. Because what I know now is that you don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
That's true. I never do relationship goals on social media because I'm like, I've been in the game too long.
That's funny though because Dr. Cherita, no, she was my relationship goal.
But you ain't write it down. You ain't say it in Facebook.
I may have a time or two. There was something about our relationship that I considered a goal. But in a healthy way.
And I think there's a fine line there because I think sometimes when you look at other people, they can motivate you to go to the next level and inspire you versus anytime you take it to the level that it diminishes you or devalues what you've done, that's when you know you've gone too far.
Right.
And I think you can see people, other women, what they're doing and saying, wow, that's decent, and it really push you. But once you get to the point where you're being down on
why
you,
her and not me?
You've gone too far. Right. You've gone too far.
Yeah. And I would just ask you to begin to celebrate yourself and to celebrate the other people that you're comparing yourself to. So just be happy for them, but be happy for yourself as well. And just, you don't need anybody else to validate you. You just... No, you are legit. Just as you are, right? And any investment that you make in yourself to get better is just it is like exponentially increasing the value of who you are. But you're there already. You have everything you need within you to be what you need to be and what you're born to be.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yes, all right.
Learn something new every day.
Yes. So, we did our thing. We did our coach talk. We shared from experience and expertise. We want to have some balance there. This is not just textbook talk, right?
This is real talk.
Yeah, this is real talk, authentic, transparent, and that really is the purpose and the goal of the Coaches RN, to have that authenticity and that transparency, both from our personal lives and from the work that we do as coaches, so that we can help you, because we know not everyone is going to have the opportunity or even the ability to enter into a coaching relationship with someone, or maybe in the case of one of our guest experts, like to go to therapy, because that takes resources, right?
Exactly.
But it doesn't mean that you're not deserving of getting help and support in some kind of way. This is just our contribution to helping you on your journey to being the best you, to living your best life. and really up-leveling in every area of your life. That's what the coaches are about.
That's right. We want to see you show up in the greatest way possible.
Yes, absolutely, and experience life the way that you really want to experience it.
The way you deserve.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we are going to wrap this segment, and we will be right back with another segment of The Coaches Are In.
To go after everything you desire.
I am here to encourage you to rise and write because the world needs your message.
So that means I'm setting my own expectations for those roles versus living according to everybody else's expectations. And I found a place where I can really operate fully in my area of excellence and expertise and pull from my experience to be the person, the woman that I was created to be. And that is what is informing, who I am and who I show up as on a daily basis.
It does not honor your creator who put your dreams and desires and your goals inside of you.
Hello, ladies. We are back with another segment with Seneca Williams, our resident coach therapist this season. Seneca, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having me, as usual.
Now, before we jump in, tell the people who you are and what you do.
All right. So I am Seneca Williams, and I'm also known as Coach Sen. I am a therapist and coach, and I support careerpreneurs and entrepreneurs who are dealing with business anxiety and burnout. I help them in therapy and in coaching. And sometimes they don't realize that being a high achiever and doing all the things that they might be struggling. So I help them to stay on track with their self-care so they're not burnt out.
Awesome. Now we're going to do something a little different this time. I've asked Seneca to talk with you all about Black women entrepreneurs and business anxiety. Many of our viewers are emerging or established entrepreneurs, and what I'm finding is that regardless of their type of business, how long they've been in business, or how much money their business makes, far too many of us are dealing with anxiety in our business, even if we don't know enough to identify it as anxiety. It's still showing up. So I'm going to turn it over to Seneca. I'm going to let her do her thing because I'm going to be taking notes. All right.
Welcome, Conquerpreneurs. That's what I call my clients who work with me to break through their business anxiety to prevent business burnout. All right, I've already been introduced, so you understand that I work with entrepreneurs on dealing with the things that come up that make them anxious in business. Now, I don't know about you, but when I went to school to become a therapist, they didn't teach me about business. And probably like you went to school, you have a master's degree, maybe you have a PhD or some other higher level of education, but you didn't learn how to run a business. So even though you were able to grow in your career, even though you were able to hit different income levels and keep growing, you might not know how to apply that to your business. And that's where the anxiety creeps in. I sometimes work with women who say that they have led their entire department, but when it comes to running their own business, they freeze. They don't know how to show up online to promote, to brand, to market. The social media anxiety creeps in. They have a hard time with the networking anxiety, which is really important because now you need to put yourself out there. to get potential clients, collaborators. You need to pitch your business sometimes to get funding. You need to speak at events. You might be invited to speak at events, which are ways to grow your business. And now you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this. You probably can relate to this. If you can, wonderful. And the thing about business anxiety is sometimes we don't even recognize it. Why don't we recognize it? Because we're busy. We're doing business things, but we might not be seeing any business growth or any business income. And we're wondering what's going on. I feel so tired. I'm putting in so much work. Why isn't it paying off? And that's when I tell people, kind of think about, are you in a business anxiety cycle? So I just want to put the disclaimer out there that business anxiety isn't an actual medical diagnosis or mental health diagnosis. It's just something that I identify within myself when I went from going to school to become a therapist and then trying to start my own practice. And it's something I identified in clients. Okay, so I want you to kind of think about something in your business that makes you a little bit uneasy, a little bit nervous. We're going to identify your business anxiety cycle. Get a pen, paper, Post-it note, anything like that. And I want you to make 2 columns. Here's how you're going to identify if you are in a business anxiety cycle. On the first column, I want you to write avoidance. On the second column, I want you to write action. These are the telltale signs. If you're in avoidance mode, you're in a business anxiety cycle. What are you avoiding? List that out. Are you avoiding doing some income producing activities, like actually emailing that person that said that they were interested? Or are you avoiding filling out that application so that you can get funding? Are you avoiding going on stage? Maybe you're avoiding launching that program, launching that podcast. Or maybe you have had some success in business, but you're avoiding that next level. What are the things you are avoiding? Now, in the action column, I want you to write all the things that you're already taking action on. And here's the thing about it. You're going to write out a list of all the things you're taking action on, whether that's I launched the business, I created the website, I have been networking, I've been doing all these things. You're going to write those things out, but I want you to put a star next to the ones that are income producing actions. If you notice that there aren't many income producing actions, these busy behaviors might be part of your business anxiety. We sometimes do things that make us feel like we're moving forward, but they're actually not moving us forward. They're helping us to avoid the things that we're really afraid of. So that is your assignment to start off with. Now, when we think about business anxiety and moving through it, most people's question is, well, how do I conquer my business anxiety? How do I reduce my fears? Do I just wait until I'm confident? Do I just wait for courage to show up? The thing about it is that's not how confidence and courage work at all. It's not about how long you've had the business that you'll become more confident. It's about taking those small, little achievable steps. It's exposure. It's part of therapy that I bring into coaching is exposure. Think about going on a roller coaster. I'm sure you've been on a roller coaster or some kind of ride at some point in your life. What are the emotions that come up for you? You probably feel nervous. You're scared. You're like, what am I about to get myself into? What's about to happen? Now, here's the thing about that. We get to choose to go on the roller coaster despite those feelings. It's really a choice. Nobody's forcing you to get on that roller coaster, but you stay on that line for an hour, don't you? You stay on that line and you still get on that roller coaster because you're focused on the outcome, how much fun I'm going to have, how wonderful this is going to be. We do the same thing with our business. I want you to think about, I have these mixed emotions. I have anxiety about the business, but I also have excitement. I call it excitement. You're anxious and you're excited, but lean towards the excitement and the outcome that you want. In teaching people how to get through their business anxiety, I use something called the Conquer method. And the C in the Conquer method is also being clear about why you even want what you want. Why do you want your business? Are you clear about what it will do for you in your life and the people that you'll serve? Why do you want to make 6 figures or 7 figures? What are you going to do when you get that number? The more clear you are about why you want what you want and why you're doing what you do, you will pursue it. You'll pursue it with persistence. You'll grow your courage muscle. You'll be more confident. If you look back at when you got to where you were now in your career, I'm sure that you were scared, you were nervous until you started doing it, until you took the steps month after month, getting more confident in it. So I want you to think about that. Now, when we bring in being a Black entrepreneur into the mix, we have to think about the fact that for many of us, we are the first. Are you the first? Or maybe you're the first to get this far. Because of that, sometimes we might not be as risk tolerant. We're a bit more risk averse because culturally we've been taught to be safe, get a safe job, protect ourselves, thinking about the fact that everything depends on us. My family's depending on this, my livelihood is depending on this, and I don't want to risk it all. We don't have many examples. We don't have trust funds. It's hard to really just put yourself out there as a Black entrepreneur. But I'll tell you this, in the coaching program that I've created, the Business Anxiety Breakthrough Program, not only do I help individuals work on their mindset to get through the business anxiety, the social media anxiety, the networking anxiety, I also help them to learn how to find the community and the networks that you need. There is someone out there. Another thing that comes up for a lot of Black entrepreneurs is I don't have the money. I don't have the financing. Is this something you worry about, like money? I don't have enough. There are more and more and more Black funds popping up that we can reach out to for grants. We can reach out to for support and services. We can pitch for investors. You might have heard of Arlen Hamilton. She's one of those investors, and she has a book out called It's About Damn Time. Check her out. That's an example. Also, the Fearless Fund. It is designed for Black women to pitch their businesses and get funding. So all the things that make us anxious as Black entrepreneurs, either not seeing ourselves out there or only seeing like Oprah and Beyonce and Rihanna and Jay-Z, we only see these people. We think that can't possibly be me. The thing about it is it can be you. There are so many women out here, Black women, that are doing it, that are reaching these heights. So if you are struggling with business anxiety, take out your journal. I tell people, keep a business journal and start writing down the things that make you anxious, make you nervous, that you might be holding back from, because that's where you need to do your work. You may not need another app. You don't need to buy another service. You don't need any more business cards. You don't need a new website. What you need to do is tackle the emotions that hold you back. You've heard of the I have imposter syndrome. You've heard people say, like, I don't know, I don't feel confident in myself. I don't like showing up in public on camera. I'm an introvert. All of those things are things that can be addressed so that you can pursue your business. Think about it. If you've been able to be successful in your career, you can transfer that to your business.
That was awesome, Seneca. Thank you so much for sharing that information. I said I was going to take notes, and that's what I was doing. I was taking notes, and some of the notes I was like, oh yeah, I do that. So yeah, a timely topic for me. But I think the conversation is really important. And I want to like really hone in on the point that you made about comparing like this journey to our journey in our careers. and the things that we had to do to make it to wherever we are in our careers. And it really is the same process in your business. Like, you don't just launch a business and you're just an automatic success. There's a learning curve. And as you go from one level in business to the next level in business, there are new things that you're going to have to deal with, new things that you're going to have to learn. But as long as you keep showing up and doing the work and asking for help when you need the help, you can accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, and you can get to that level of authority and expertise in your business, just like you did in your career. And I think we often miss the transferability of skills and like knowledge base and all of that from our careers to our business. And if we can be successful here, we can be successful here as well. Yes, we may need some help in the process, and help is okay.
Yes, it is. And I don't, I do understand it. I do. I was going to say, I don't know why, but I do know why. Mm-hmm. Many of us invested so much time and money into our careers and getting to the point that we're like, wait, I have to go back now and hire people and spend this money again to learn some more? What? So I knew for myself in the first year, I did not hire any coach. I was like, I could figure this out. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to Google it. I'm smart enough. I can figure this out. But here's the thing. You're getting information. You're getting the what sometimes, but not the how. Mm-hmm. You're getting information, but not the transformation. That's why you have to invest in the coaching. That's why you need that support. So you can have someone to guide you through, how do I take these skills? How do I use this stuff and apply it over here? And that's where I come in as a coach. As a therapist, like we talked about, and we probably could talk about another time, what's the difference? As a coach, I'm not helping you with your mental health, but I'm helping you build your confidence and learn how to use your soft skills and your past experiences and apply them to your business so you feel more confident and these things aren't holding you back and you're not in avoidance mode, you're in action mode.
Yes. So the activity that you asked us to do with the 2 columns, what are you avoiding? What are you taking action on? I'm writing things in both columns. And I'm like, well, the things on the action side, I love doing those things. The things on the avoidance side are the things that, like, they bring me no joy. I know they're necessary, but they bring me no joy. Like, I don't want to do those things. I just don't want to do it.
And it makes sense, right? The things that are on our avoidance list. And, that it's not an end all be all, right? This is just the first step. The first step is what's on your avoidance list. Some of the things on your avoidance list, you could probably hire someone to do them. Mm-hmm. But some of them you can't.
Right.
Some of them you have to do it. No one can do it for you, right? No one can be you. So it's like looking at both of the list and being like, okay, what things on my avoidance list do I actually need to tackle? Because no one can be you.
Mm-hmm. And then after you identify those things, and it's a necessity, right? Like, my business is not going to be successful if I do not do these activities. And you still can't bring yourself to do them. Like, that is when they need to pick up the phone or Google search. Like, you need to find somebody to help you, because that's when we know, like, there is an anxiety issue there that is blocking you from actually taking action. And the fallout from that is that your business is not going to grow. Mm-hmm. And the why that you have for doing it in the first place is never going to be manifested because you're blocked. Mm-hmm.
I give people a kind of a challenge to do when they come to me for coaching and they're like, I have social media anxiety. I really want to go live. I want to do videos, because eventually they want to do webinars and courses. So I'll be like, okay, we'll start small. This is the exposure. Create a 1-minute video. Mm-hmm. And it never fails. People will come back to me 2-3 weeks later and be like, I didn't do the 1-minute video. Why not? I didn't have time. Now, when you think about doing a 1-minute video, and someone comes back 3 weeks later and they're like, I didn't have time. I then asked them, how long did you feel like you needed to do the 1 minute video? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. Sometimes people will say, oh, I needed an hour. I needed 30 minutes. And it's like, literally, I'm saying do 60 seconds, hit record and do 60 seconds. But FAIR will tell you, no, you need an hour. And then you need to edit it. And then you need to re-record it about 50 times so that it's perfect. And then I'm like, that's business anxiety there. That's anxiety right there. Because if they had to make a video about what they ate for dinner, they will do it. They'll make videos online. This is what I have for dinner. This is what I did on my vacation. This is what we got for Christmas. They'll do that video. When it's for their business, it's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, that is so true. And it's that everything we think we have to do to prepare. So I can't just go live, or even if I'm pre-recording, I just can't do it, right? Like I gotta have my makeup on. I gotta make sure I'm on brand. My lighting has to be right. No other noise background, like all of those things. And then that small task becomes overwhelming because you feel like you have to do all of this prep. Meanwhile, the woman who is just like, I got some goals I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm going to show up while I'm at the island fixing my breakfast with my hair bonnet on, and I'm still going to talk to you about business. Yep. And guess what? People are tuning in and watching her. Yes, some of them are judging her, but they're going to judge everybody anyway. Those people who are just
listen. People are out there judging everybody for anything. So
exactly. But most of the people watching her are getting something from her of value, regardless of how she showed up. It was the simple fact that she showed up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's value in that, and that. I think a lot of times we say things like we say we are perfectionists, and it's not that. It really is fear and it's anxiety. Mm-hmm. You're just wrapping it in this nice little label that is supposed to be negative, but it really sounds positive. I say I'm a perfectionist because I like things to be done the right way and in excellence.
Yep. Absolutely. And you know what? The thing about building your business, sometimes people are like comparing themselves to larger brands and businesses that have a whole production team and thinking like, I'm going to just make this one video and that's going to be it. I'm going to blow up. I'm going to go viral. It's going to get all this. Really, you need to practice. Like my very first videos, I don't know if they're still online. They're somewhere online. They were not great. I was scared when I was talking. They were probably looking really bad with the lighting. It was dark. They weren't good. But you know what? People were watching them and they would reach out to me and be like, hey, I saw your video on Facebook. Are you taking new clients?
Yes.
So we have to sometimes focus more on the work that we're doing and stand on that. Then how do I look? What does my voice sound like? How's my makeup? Oh, I got to wait till I get my hair done. Like all that stuff.
Exactly. I do like what you said about the exposure. In real life, right, when you're just living your everyday life, the more exposure you get, the more vulnerable you are. But when we think about it in business, it's like the more exposure you get, the less vulnerable you are. So the more you expose yourself to the things you're uncomfortable doing, you become less vulnerable in those areas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really good.
Yes.
Yes. I love this conversation. And we're going to do a little bit more in a few weeks when you join us again. So ladies, I want you to be sure to tune into that. In the meantime, Seneca, share how our audience can connect with you and learn more about working with you.
Great. So I am Seneca Williams. You can find me on social media as Ask Coach Sen. I'm on all the social media channels. I'm also on LinkedIn as Seneca Williams. You can follow me at the Conquer Network as well. I'm the founder of the Conquer Network. And if you reach out to me by website, the best way to do so is senecawilliams.com. If you email me, message me, I will get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Seneca. Ladies, stay tuned for what's next on The Coaches Are In.
Hey everyone, I am here with Dr. Jasmine Jenkins. She is the Senior Program Officer for Education and Advocacy at Bloomberg Philanthropies, which is located in New York City. I'm so glad to be here with you. Welcome to The Coaches Are In.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here, glad to be joining you via satellite or whatever the internet equivalent of that is these days. I guess I'm showing my age a little bit. But thanks for having me.
Yes, we already want to warn our audience that we might hear some New York City sound. Okay,
that's right. In the background, can't stop it. Sirens, dogs, random street party might break out. That's all right. It's 50th anniversary of hip hop, so you never know.
That's right, exactly. So we just want to talk briefly as we are moving towards the election season. We thought this would be a great opportunity to talk with someone who understands the political scene, is very much involved, very active. And so want to just tell us a little bit about your history, your experience with politics.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So let me say first, I have always been fascinated by politics. Even like from an early age, I remember watching the local and national news with my father in the evenings after dinner, and just always being fascinated by it. So from an early age, I did things like ran for student council and got involved in youth and government and student government in various capacities through K through 12 and then even in college. So it's always been an interest of mine. And I ended up majoring in political science. And let me put the disclaimer, you do not have to have a degree in political science in order to run for office, in order to be involved in politics. It's just something that fascinated me. It was an interest of mine, but also public service in terms of putting my thoughts, words, theories, research into action was just something that appealed to me as I got older. So after college, I moved to Texas from Pennsylvania and to teach. And I taught fourth grade for 2 years and then decided to go to graduate school where I continued studying political science and got my master's and PhD. And then decided that rather than go the academic route, that I would work in the field, which is something that academics refer to people who, decide not to be tethered to a data set and publish and teach, or you could, go out and sort of work among the people and see what's happening. So I got pretty heavily involved in community organizing and advocacy work. And ended up running for office. I ran for office in Texas in 2016. I won a general primary election in March for State Board of Education and then lost in a runoff. And I pretty commonly refer to that as the best thing I ever lost, simply because it opened up a lot of doors. When you decide to run for office, it's sort of like a public job interview. And so you can get involved in a lot of community activities. You meet a ton of people. People see you. They hear what you're passionate about. And so as a result of that, I ended up being asked to run a 501c4 advocacy organization called Houstonians for Great Public Schools. And I ran that for 6 years. And so I was pretty deeply entrenched in education policy and politics in Texas and in Houston, Texas, specifically for many years. And then a year and a half ago, I sort of felt the urge to see what was happening on a national scale, see what was going on in other places. And it coincided with a time when Bloomberg Philanthropies was doing a lot more specifically across the South, dealing with education policy, dealing with public school choice and charter schools. And it seemed like a really good fit. So I ended up taking the position here with Bloomberg, where I live in New York, but I do a lot of work still in Texas and in the South.
and thankfully get to see a lot more of what's happening with local politics in cities like Atlanta and Birmingham and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Jackson, Mississippi, and just sort of all over the place, or all over the southern United States, seeing a lot of what's happening with our policy and politics now. So that is my political story from childhood to today.
What it sounds like, though, is you've had the opportunity to follow your passion, would you say? You've been passionate about politics, very interested, very intrigued by it. And now you're hands-on and traveling and able to make a difference. Talk a little bit about the impact you've been able to make in just throughout your history in politics.
Yeah, that's a topic, or that's a very good way to describe it. Like, I have definitely been able to work in an area that I'm passionate about. Obviously, as a teacher, there's a direct impact with students on a day-to-day basis, and it's incredibly fulfilling, and it's great. And I, am still in contact with several of my students, even from my first year teaching, now that they are adults, which is so scary to say, but that happens. But in the political realm and in the policy realm, you're able to sort of zoom out a little bit more. And so a lot of my work in Texas was dealing with local school boards, and even now just in other places, but was dealing with local school boards and how they govern a school district, for example. And I'm sure throughout this conversation, we'll talk about ways that folks can get involved in politics, whether they decide to run. We're going there. Good. I'm glad, because we need you. We need you. So getting involved in school board politics, keeping a lot of the policies focused on students. I know that especially in the national climate where, everything seems very polarized, even before this sort of moment that we're having now, where there's discussions about curriculum and books and racism and how that plays out in the schools. And those are certainly important topics. Even before then, a lot of times the rhetoric that surrounds education policy doesn't have much to do with kids and whether or not they're learning how to read, whether or not they're learning basic skills. And so really being able to rally parents and community members and voters around issues that affect kids is difficult, both on the public facing side and how we're organizing and mobilizing people, and then also on the policy side and how we're getting the right policies enacted. And so that's really where I've been able to focus a lot of my energy, first in Texas and now on the national scale, as we talk about broader issues of, well, how many options do people have based on where they live, on the schools that they're able to send their kids to, and whether or not the kids are going to fit into a traditional curriculum and how many options they have for that. And whether or not, again, the policies that we're creating are actually focused on students or on, other political agendas or business decisions, things like that. So really being able to focus on student-centered policies that are improving outcomes for kids has been the bulk of my work. And I'm really proud of a lot of the things that we've been able to accomplish in terms of equitable funding at the state level in various states, and ensuring that there's accountability for schools. That continues to happen to make sure that, the kids are actually teaching kids things that they need to know to have a really good life after school.
Wow, Dr. Jazz, the work that you're doing is fantastic. And what I love is it's hands-on.
Yeah.
It's hands-on, even though it has moved to more of a national level. It seems like the travel and the kind of work that you do, you are still there and you see the accountability and you see where funding and the work, that is being done to help students with their education and beyond. I want to shift a little bit and ask you, as we talk to Black women, especially today, why is it so important for us to get involved? Why is it so important for us to do this work and to be hands-on in this kind of work?
I'm so glad you asked that. I want to say, well, first of all, thank you for your encouragement, and it is not easy to like hop on a plane and go talk to the school board in Atlanta when I live 1,000 miles away. But you do not have to make local politics, be your life's work in order to get involved. It does not take all of that, right? Like that's what I do. That is what I'm passionate about. I'm glad to continue doing it, and will keep doing it until it's not necessary anymore, which is my hope. However, even on a local scale, I think that what tends to happen is folks, understandably, get very myopic in their, terms of their family or their own children, when the broader community does need you, right? Like we don't survive without community. And so part of being engaged as a community member is getting involved in politics. Yes, it can be as basic as voting, but it can also be committing to attend one school board meeting a year, right? Making sure that you are seen and heard. It can also be leading the PTA at your child's school, for example. Or if you are a part of a neighborhood association, there are other ways that you can get involved that are much more low touch than, helping people run for office and sorting through various state level policies. Like you don't have to get mired in all of that in order to actually engage fully. And I think what we see now is that folks who are very well organized and sometimes not necessarily well informed, but well organized, have no problem commandeering the microphone. And we can't just sit back and say, well, they clearly must know more than I do, because in a lot of cases they don't. And so it's like important for folks to speak up if you say this doesn't sound right, or let me find out more about it. Let me find somebody who does know a little bit more, or at the very least, let me show up at a meeting or two and find out what people are talking about, because that can be meaningful as well. And I give examples like almost exclusively at the local level. I talk a lot about school board, about neighborhood associations, about city council, because those are the things that affect people's lives day to day and the places where you are most likely to make a difference. I know that the national news is going to have presidential elections and the Senate, and those things are important. You should absolutely vote in them. But in terms of your day-to-day life and where you will see the most impact for the sacrifice of your time is in your own community. And I think, it's really good for folks to be invested in that.
I like that. Something you said earlier, I think a great place to start is voting. And
yeah.
There are many people who are deterred from voting because they feel that their vote doesn't matter, right? And so it does. And so every vote matters. And that's a start. But even before that, recognizing that community is so important. And so we live in a community, why not invest in some way? And you don't have to have a student in the school district to attend a school board meeting to see how our students are being treated, what kind of things are being, policies or being passed or talked about. So it's really important for us to understand and be aware of the issues that are out there so that we can use our voice and our gifts, talents, and intelligence to share our voice. What are some of the challenges that you see that we women, may face as we are trying to engage in this arena?
That's a really good observation. There are definitely a ton of challenges. And you're absolutely right. Folks can get engaged at the local level. And often, especially with women, the hesitance to engage has to do with this idea that they have some sort of a lack of knowledge, or they're not schooled enough on a certain issue in order to talk about it. They don't have the right skills or experience or expertise. And the truth is, like a lot of times, men sort of assume that because they have an opinion on something that it should be expressed, or at the very least, I mean, obviously I can't speak for all men, but at the very least, there is less of a hesitation for men to put themselves out there than there is for women, thinking like, wait, I need to know everything about this. I need to have studied it. I need to, have a background in it.
So sis, stop hesitating. Okay.
And it's like so that's not really true. I think that's probably the first barrier, is that. And then the second is, of course, time and energy. Both women with children and women without children are usually spread very thin, are giving to their communities, to their friends, to their families in other ways, to their jobs. Also, there's an actual time factor, even in voting, and then doing beyond that. It's just a matter of saying, this is also an investment in my community and in me, and setting aside whatever time you can in order to do that. And at the very least, there's a lot of discussion about voting and the barriers that there are to access that. But at the same time, there are people who have fought very hard to make sure that voting is as accessible as it can be. And so it's incumbent upon those of us who know that we've got, the extra 30 minutes, who know that we have access to a mail-in vote or can take off for an afternoon, those of us who can do that, to do that at the very least.
Love it. Listen, I want to thank you for joining the Coaches Are In. This conversation is so valuable. And I think before you go, I'd like for you to share with women at least 2 tips. What can we do? Soon as this episode is over, what can they do to jump right in?
Thank you for asking that. And thank you for having me as well. 2 tips. 2 tips I think are fantastic. The first is find out when the public meeting for your local city council or school board happens. Chances are it's on a weekday. It might be in the evening though, but it's going to be at some sort of regular interval, probably once a month at a certain time.
And it could be on Zoom.
And it could be on Zoom, that's right. And even post-pandemic, even if the city council's meeting together, they often take public testimony or public hearing via Zoom or some sort of live streaming platform. So one very easy lift is to just go and find out when they meet for their public meetings. Every city in the country, every public school board in the country, in every school district has public meetings, likely, like I said, on a monthly basis. Find out when that is. I'm not going to make you commit to anything, but find out when your local school board or city council meets, because again, information can be a barrier. And so at least if an issue comes up. And then the second one is ensure that your voter registration is up to date. And if you are in a state that has closed primaries, that you're registered in a specific political party. I know that seems counterintuitive. There are a lot of folks who are independent. In some states, like Texas, being independent is fine. You can choose a primary whenever it comes up and go and vote. In other states, like Pennsylvania, you have to be a member of a political party in order to vote in that party's primary election. And even if you don't have strong partisan leanings, if you might be a little bit on one side or the other, you should register to vote in the primary election, because in a lot of ways, that's where so many of the decisions take place before the general election. Because once you get to the general, one party is usually bigger than another in a certain place anyway. So the candidate, of that party is already spoken for, because that's decided in the primary election. So find out when your local school board and or city council meets, and then make sure that your voter registration is up to date and that you are registered in a party if you're in a closed party state.
Every time you have the opportunity to vote, you should vote.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
To vote, and
I know that we're in an odd year, right? It's 2023. There are still elections that are happening in November of 2023. And the next year is the big presidential election. And I know a lot of folks are going to be tempted to say, well, I don't care about who's president. I don't like either of them, whatever. And that's fine. But remember that the elected offices that are a lot closer to you, a lot closer to your community are also on the ballot. So please make sure you vote.
This is good. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate the work that you're doing out there. Some of you who don't know now, you know, Dr. Jasmine is out there doing work, traveling across the country, impacting the lives of our education system. And so we appreciate you very much. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you back again.
Thanks so much.
All right. And now we're headed to our voting season, y'all. I want everyone to vote, vote, vote.
All right, so that is it for this episode of The Coaches Are In. So we hope that you have enjoyed this episode. We want to remind you to subscribe if you have not done so. Make sure you like not only the episode, but the channel. Yes, and share. The Coaches Are In TV on YouTube. And yes, absolutely share. Share when we're airing. Doesn't matter whether you're watching us Mondays at 8 p.m. or later in the week. Whenever you watch us, just click that share button as well. And let other people know what's going on over here at The Coaches Are In. Yes. Also, just another reminder, if you want to be featured on a future episode of the show as one of our guest experts or as a community contributor, just head on over to thecoachesrn.com and fill out the appropriate form, and we will be in touch with you. I think that's all our announcements.
That's all the announcements. Our hearts and minds are clear.
Yes. So we just want to thank you for being here with us. And we will see you the same time, same place next week. For now, the coaches are out.